Final Fantasy XIV. You've been asking, what are your thoughts on the game? Well, today, my friends, I'm here to share those thoughts. I'm not going to spoil the game for anyone. Just going to share my experience and my thoughts with you guys. I do want to say that after completing Shadowbringers, which is the latest expansion, completed it about 2 days ago, did the raid yesterday, and today I completed my first extreme Final Fantasy XIV Shadowbringers specifically. This expansion alone has put this game in my top 10 games of all time. So not just MMOs, but all time. So it took me about 3 or 4 resubs, creating 4 or 5 characters, because every time I resubbed I felt like I needed to start fresh, since I knew that this was a very single player, story driven kind of game for the most part, until you reach the end game. Then, you start constantly doing group content. But for the main story quest, it's like a solo experience. I watched the event where they revealed a lot of information about Shadowbringers, and seeing the types of monsters and the setting and the trailer, I was like, you know what? The game has kind of attracted me before, but right now I'm extremely turned on. I said, soon I'm just going to sit my ass down and commit to it. No distractions. And I wanted to be caught up by the time Shadowbringers hit. That didn't happen. I had to accept reality and realize I worked too damn much. So I decided I'm just going to play the game at my own pace and throw away these unrealistic goals in this time frame that I set for myself. Wasn't going to happen. So accepting that and just playing at my own pace, it made it much more enjoyable. So this time around, I finally had some time and I said, it's time to dive in. It's time to dive in to Final Fantasy's. So I have resubbed to this game 4 or 5 times, and each time I start a new character because I feel like we are starting a very long journey and I want to know everything that's going on. I don't want to be like, oh, let's continue from where I left off 2 years ago. I don't remember what happened 2 years ago. My latest character I have played on kind of recently. I've made 1 or 2 videos on the channel about 14. One where I kind of said, hey, I'm finally sold on 14 and I'm enjoying it. And another one where I did this event, this Final Fantasy XV collab, because I just thought it was cool. Wanted to show it off, but in that video I didn't really know the game, didn't know all the mechanics. I played like a scrub, and I've changed classes since then. So I hop back onto my ninja, level 33, 34 or something like that, and I actually played 14 non-stop. It took a couple of months, I'd say, because I'm working in between, but I played 14. And it's been a while. It's been a very, very long time since I've actually been genuinely excited to play an MMORPG. They don't give me that excitement anymore. Arcade recently has, because I returned to it, but like a new one that I haven't really explored or touched, not going back to an ex-girlfriend. So 14 it's got me to the point where sometimes I'm like, damn, why must the body sleep? Because I want to play more of this game. And lately I've been staying up for 24 hours, 20 hours, been destroying my sleep schedule, probably why I look like shit. The game has just been that enjoyable. But impressions, A Realm Reborn, the base game, I hate the color palette. It was like dirt, dry, desert looking for most of it. I didn't really like the areas too much. And the story was kind of boring, but I had hope, and I felt, you know what, let's just continue this, let's bite the bullet. The combat was also slow, as most people explained. Playing on Ninja, which was actually a bit faster, but I just kind of was getting bored with it. And then I switched to Samurai. Samurai unlocked at level 50, and Samurai made me enjoy the game a bit more. It was new, it was refreshing, it was more my style. Then I beat A Realm Reborn, and I'm like, it was okay. I'm looking forward to what's next. I've heard a lot of good things about Heavensward, the first expansion. There's quests in between A Realm Reborn and Heavensward, and what happened in those quests actually made me fall in love with the game and really, really care about the story, because I was like, holy shit, this is tea. I was fucking sold. Then you get to Heavensward. Heavensward was fucking amazing. The dungeons, the trials, the story, it got so much better. I love the areas more than I did in A Realm Reborn. Just everything about Heavensward, it made me like the game twice as much. And then you get to the Dragon Song quest, which is between Heavensward and Stormblood. I'm jumping the gun here. In Heavensward, I decided to switch to Dark Knight. Some of you know, but I have a huge thing for great swords. I've always wanted to play Dark Knight because they look so badass, their armor, their weapons, but they're tanks, and I've never tanked before. I've always found it intimidating, and I always just stay in my lane, which is DPS. But something happened, and I said, fuck this, I'm about to tank. And I did buy the potion to skip ahead for tank. Not to skip the story or anything, but just to get a level 60 tank so I can continue from where I left off as a tank. And I know people are like, oh, you shouldn't have done that. Well, your boy just wanted to continue the story, and I didn't really think about it that much. I also didn't know that there was an epic backstory to Dark Knight. One of the mistakes I made, I guess. This was 2 days before I think Shadowbringers came out and Dark Knight got a rework. So for me, this was really good because most people are like, dude, don't even worry about your rotation and shit. Everything's about to change. So I don't really know how different it was, but once Shadowbringers came out, whatever they did to Dark Knight, its gameplay, in my opinion, is really fun. It just, I don't know, it feels like you're constantly moving with it. As most of you know, those of you that don't play, you've heard 14 is really slow combat. And yeah, it is pretty slow combat, but when you have a lot of skills to use off cooldown while dealing with mechanics, that doesn't really matter so much. And tanking, for me, it's that extra added pressure that I never thought I needed. And it's made me just enjoy the game so much more. A new class, a class that I actually like. I love the animations, the skills. I like taking the lead and just initiating everything. I guess I'm just alpha as fuck. So then I get to Stormblood, and I wasn't really looking forward to Stormblood. I just was looking forward to Shadowbringers. So for Stormblood, I kind of feel like I rushed it a bit more. That's also because we're jumping back to this dry color palette. Now, if you're into Eastern stuff and, you know, you're major otaku, you probably will appreciate Stormblood a lot more. For me, though, there were certain themes in Heavensward that I appreciated a lot more. I tanked every dungeon and trial. Like, I main tanked every single one, except for the last trial of Stormblood. So from Heavensward until the end of Stormblood and the quest between Stormblood and Shadowbringers, I just main tanked everything. I knew no mechanics, and whenever I was confused and didn't know mechanics, it seemed like the other tank, if there was another one, didn't know. So I'm like, all right, fuck it, I'm just gonna wing it. And I've winged like 95% of everything correctly. How the fuck did I do that? And then I entered Shadowbringers, and I'm like, finally, I made it. Stormblood wasn't really my favorite. If I had to rank them, it would be, so far before Shadowbringers, it would be Heavensward, Stormblood, and then ARR, A Realm Reborn. But Shadowbringers, early on, Shadowbringers showed me what kind of experience I was in for. To compare it to something that some of you may know, Berserk is a highly respected manga. In fact, it is my favorite manga. Follows some extremely dark themes. A lot of it is pretty twisted. I don't know if there's been any confirmation, but this expansion seems like it was heavily inspired by Berserk. There's a lot of things in it that just seem like they are referenced to Berserk, and I love it. Shadowbringers was pretty savage. Today, I cleared my first extreme trial, Titania. I'm just so satisfied with Final Fantasy. There's finally a game that I'm excited about to log in and play every day. Why don't I make content on it, and why haven't I made content on it? I think I've always been intimidated to make 14 content because I don't know, it's never really been my style of game. It just never felt like it fit my channel, or that people would be way too critical of it. And then also that I don't feel like very knowledgeable about this game. I don't feel like I have enough credit to talk about it and discuss it. Like I'm a fucking scrub in the game. But then also there is that this is kind of my baby, like my relaxing game to just enjoy and not make content on. You know, once you start making content and it like becomes your life, at least for me, an issue I have is like every game I play, I'm like, oh, what kind of content can I make out of this? Maybe I should at least record it to make like highlights. I might catch something funny. I have to choose wisely what I play, because I could be playing something, you know, that would never fit my channel that I enjoy, but that takes up time that I could be playing something that does fit my channel that I enjoy. And so I find myself only ever playing games that I cover, and it kind of sucks. I don't branch out like I used to. Games aren't the same, especially massively multiplayer. And I play different ones every week, so I don't get locked into one. But it's nice to have one that I can always come back to. But just once you turn it into content, for me it just becomes different. If I was a 14 only channel, then I think it would be cool. But for now, it's like, I don't know. I just don't want to touch it. It's not a game for everyone. Like, as bad as I want to recommend it to friends and shit, I understand why a lot of my friends don't play it, and I understand why some people are turned off to it. Like I said, personally, the story in the beginning was quite boring, and the combat was quite slow, and the mechanics and stuff, they weren't difficult at all. So the entire Realm Reborn was like getting through the first season of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. In my opinion, the first season was just... But after that, once you get to season 2, for me, I was like, holy fuck, this is... JoJo's that shit. And you can compare that to any show. You know, when the first season is just kind of boring or it's terrible, but then after that, it's like it really picks up. That's how Realm Reborn felt for me. I don't think it sucked, but it was kind of like, you just gotta make it through this. People are like, you should just skip it, but I feel like if I skipped it, I just wouldn't have felt right. Like, I feel like I needed to suffer to enjoy the later content, and I'm glad that I did, because I know a lot of stuff. I remember characters that come up. I didn't pay attention to the story with a magnifying glass. There were definitely scenes that I skipped. Text dialogue scenes, I'd read a little bit of it to get the gist of what's going on and then skip it. And anything voice acted, I pretty much watched. But I've played and watched enough that I understand the story and everything that's going on. And this has just become one of my favorite MMORPGs. And my friend took a screenshot of me saying that and was like, I wish I could show this to you 3 years ago. Because 3 years ago, I was like, Final Fantasy XIV is pretty fucking boring, and I can't ever see myself playing it. And I've tried, and I've tried, and I've tried, and I hear that it's a good game. I know it's a good game. All the features that it has to offer, you know, all my friends that do play it, they just absolutely love it. But me, I just can't get into it, and now here I am. I would recommend it if you're looking for an MMO to play, but you're not looking for one that focuses on PvP, you're looking for one that focuses on PvE. 14's a good choice. There's a trial, but the thing is with the trial is like, you're playing through ARR, and you only get up to like level 30, and things are just really slow by that time, and that can't really sell the game to someone. But hopefully hearing about my experience, that if you do feel that way and you're like, this feels a bit slow, will it change, will it get better? Yes. Sure, you still do like dailies and certain dungeons where you do feel kind of bored, where the rotation and stuff, you feel like you're just like 1 1 1 2 2 2. Come on, this is kind of mind-numbing. But when you do the actual content available for your level, the harder content, it's a different breed. It's entirely different experience, very fun, especially if you have a good group of friends. Personally, I don't like pugging the harder content, and I don't think I ever will. Thankfully, I have a group of friends and people that I've met through YouTube and Twitch to do content with. But what's also cool is that the game is very enjoyable as a solo player. In Shadowbringers, they have made it to where you can take NPCs with you in dungeons, and I've done it for about 2 or 3 dungeons. Even then, if you don't want to do shit by yourself, you got the NPCs. But of course, the in-game content, you're gonna pug. But there are always people that are doing like practice runs or learning mechanics, so if you use the party finder and find like people who are clearing it or practicing, you'll be fine. There's housing in this game. There's just a lot of shit. It's a great game. Has beautiful areas to explore. The soundtrack. It's hard for me to listen to the soundtrack and not log out of the game and take some of the soundtracks into Fruity Loops and sample it for like a beat. I feel like I have to make some type of music with 14 soundtrack because it's so good. It's one of the best soundtracks I've ever heard in my life. Hands down. But yeah, enough ranting. 14, I love it. I don't know if I'm gonna ever really make content on it, but just so you guys know, it's a game that I would recommend. I don't think it's for everyone, people that don't have patience, but you should just spoil yourself just a little bit. Look up some of the end game raids. Browse a website that shows you glamour and all the cool shit that people can wear. Watch a few trailers and all the classes so you can see if maybe there is a class that fits your style. You may find one class to come off extremely boring and just the animations you don't like or it looks slow, and then you may see another class and say, holy shit, I think I actually want to play that and would have fun playing it. So enough ranting, I've been talking about this for 30 minutes. Alright guys, I will catch you in the next video. See you soon, friends.